Hi, my name is Lucy. When I was referred to AMR 4 years ago, I actually had given up hope. I was not thinking that anyone could help me at that point. I'd been to several doctors, 6, 7 doctors, including specialists. I'd burned through most of my HSA money, and I was at a point where I didn't really know if there was anything that anyone can do. But I was also of the mindset that I would try anything, and I found a doctor who really dug in and wanted to help me figure out what was wrong and not just give me a prescription and send me out the door. And she said the best thing that I could do was to come work with Brandon, and so I did, and that's how I got here. Before coming to see Brandon, I had seen, I think, 6 or 7 different doctors, including specialists like sports medicine doctors. I'd gone to physical therapy. I had spent a year and a half working with some personal trainers who were great. They did a great job with what they had to work with, but they didn't know what was wrong. And after a year of personal training, I wasn't making progress and was actually in decline in my performance. I had taken some different prescriptions, not much, but what doctors had suggested, tried those, got a little bit of relief, but never, of course, fixing the problem. And then a friend of mine referred me to a doctor who then pointed me in this direction. So I was dealing with chronic, systemic fatigue and pain. I was starting to think I had fibromyalgia, even though no doctor would tell me that, but I was doing my own research, and that was the only thing I could find that seemed similar with what I was experiencing. So basically full body pain. I had a back injury that made it very difficult to do anything physical. I mean, even packing a suitcase was like a huge painful chore for me. And just fatigue, chronic fatigue every day, no matter how much I slept. The littlest thing would really affect me, and I'd have to sit down for 20 minutes to just recover from even a tiny bit of exercise. And I've always been an athletic, very active person my whole life, so this was very strange things for me to be experiencing. So coming to see Brandon, I'd say the first thing that I noted that was so interesting is that he asked me, what was going on. And I had a back injury from being bucked off a horse like 3 times in a matter of months, and my back was just shot. And so I told him all about this back injury and the kind of 2 years where I'd been going to these doctors and all of that. And then he said, okay, well, what about before that? And so we ended up going through like the last 20 years of my health, and I had a neck injury from like 20 years ago that I dealt with, kind of helped it, but I've had on and off neck pain for 20 years, but it's just something I'd learned to live with. And it was so interesting to me. I remember when we were having this conversation that he dug that deep, because typically nobody went back that far. They were like, oh, you have a back injury, okay, let's address the back injury. And with Brandon, it was like, okay, you have a back injury, what else? So we really just went through everything, and then it took some time before I started seeing results, and that's fine, because I had, those injuries, I'd had the injuries for a while, so I didn't expect to see anything overnight. But I remember I was coming in twice a month to see him, and I remember after about 5 months coming in and telling him, I don't think I've thought about my back in 2 weeks, which is a great sign, because that means my back hasn't been hurting. And from there, it's just been steady improvement, and I think it took about a year and a half before I was really feeling like my body is not having any pain on a daily basis, and I can do whatever I want to do and feel really good about it. Well, I will preface this by saying that I just flew down here from Washington State to see Brandon, so that should say a lot about how important I think this is for me. I think what I feel the most is just grateful that there's somebody who understands my body well enough. I know that this person can make me be on the top of my game, that if I see Brandon on a regular basis, I can do whatever I want physically. And for me, being someone who's really athletic and into sports, and I have my horse thing that I'm very passionate about, I want to know that I can use my body as much as I want and not have limitations. So I'm just so grateful that I have someone who can help me do that, and I feel like is on my side. I would recommend anybody who's dealing with pain and discomfort, and I think there's a lot of people who deal with that and just learn to live with it. I did it for 20 years. It is so amazing to wake up every day and not hurt and be able to work for 8 or 10 or 12 hours and come home and not be in pain. That's an amazing thing, and we forget that that is how you should feel. So I think anyone dealing with kind of chronic stuff that you've forgotten about or learned to forget about, and then of course if you have an injury, I mean, through this process I learned a lot about how your body shuts down and protects itself, and how important it is to do this kind of work if you've had an injury so that you can get back to 100%.